different languages in Megillah. Hashmid, La'aroig, it's different languages, destruction. It's hard to translate in English. La'abed, to disappear, all the Jews, and their material possessions to take as well. Anyway, so let's go one by one. Lahashmid. So the Gra explains. The word Lahashmid, we find, Chacham use the word, Lahashmid is to destroy, but it could be not physical destruction. It could be to destroy the tzura, the essence of it. Yes, it doesn't have to be physical. Lahashmid, if you have a dollar bill, for example, and you erase something that nobody will accept it, so the dollar was all kayam, but you were mashmid the dollar bill. Finished. So what does it mean by a human being? That's gzeira shmad. The main thing of a person is neshama. Neshama. Gadol amachti'ai yoisa min hargoy. Haman, we know, Haman wasn't just an individual anti-Semite. Haman was from Amalek. And Amalek wants to uproot the whole connection of Am Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Lahashmid. In Targum Shani it says at the end of the Megillah, Vayehudim Hoysa Oira V'Simcha V'Sosim V'Koch Chazal Darshan. Oira is Torah. So what does it mean? In Simcha is Shabbos and Yontiv. Sosim is the mitzvah of Milah, and Yukar is Tefillin. So the Targum Shani says it means simply, that's one of the pshatim, that Haman at the time, even till he destroyed the Jews, he made decrees that the Jews are not allowed to keep Shabbos or Yom Tov, that they can't make bris milah, that they can't learn Torah, that they can't put on tefillin. He attacked all these mitzvahs. So afterwards, like Hudim Haisa, they had freedom. They had Torah again, and Milah, and Yom Tov, and Shabbos, and that's Poshet Pshat. I'll call upon him, so let's go back. So that's Lahashmid. Lahashmid is to destroy the Neshama. Laharoig, that's to kill, physically, that he shouldn't be alive. But that wasn't sufficient. La'abed. La'abed is two pshatim. This is all the goyim attack us in this way. Either they kill or la'abed, or they want to make yisurim. Here, la'abed, after killing, what else is left? They shouldn't have a matzeva. They shouldn't have a basic clothes. They shouldn't even be buried. Total crematorium. Reminds of something. We have a Kabbalah from the Goyim that the Nazis Zamolik. La'abed. Shouldn't be anything physically left of the guf. What else is left? To take all their possessions. There shouldn't remain anything that belonged to the Jews. Let's swallow up all the possessions. Shlalam lavais. That's to take everything that they have. So we have here in the decree of Haman 4 things. Lahashmid, spiritually to kill them. La'aroig, physically to kill them. La'abed, to leave no remnants even of the physical of the body, and to take all their possessions. This in other words, like this. Let's then take it again. A person has the boundaries of a person is 4 things. That's every person is 4 things. What are the 4 things of a person? Nefesh. The Chacham speak about nefesh, ruach, neshama, and his possessions. This is the boundaries of every person. The nefesh is connected with the guf. Ruach chaim, neshama is in the moyach, is spiritual. So let's see. Lahashmid, this is parallel to the neshama, to destroy the neshama of the person. La'aroig, the ruach chaim, the spirit of life, his breathing, to take away his spirit of life. That's ruach. La'abed is the guf. The nefesh and the guf are connected together, and his possessions. What came out of these decrees? HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mahapech these decrees to the opposite. Let's see, how does it go the opposite? We got an extra mitzvah. The Gemara says 48 prophets stood up to Am Yisrael, but none of them added anything to the Torah. Megillah is called, whatever the reason is, one differentiates Megillah from other mitzvahs, the Rabbanan, and it's called that they were meisif on the Torah. They added to the Torah. They added a mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. So, he wanted to take away from Am Yisrael Torah, to separate Am Yisrael from the Torah. So it was mitapech. It turned around the other way, and we got an extra mitzvah of the Torah Mikra Megillah. Then he wanted to kill the opposite of killing the simcha, nasato simcha belibi. You put simcha in my heart, that's ruach chayim. When a person has sameach, that's a tesefes chayim. It says like a person said one of the traits that a person can achieve Torah is simcha, happiness. So Chaim Volozhin says, because this doesn't need an explanation, a person, when he's happy, he can learn in a half hour, which will take him hours to learn when he's sad, when he's not happy. When a person is happy, he's in a different state. So it says, they made it, Yimasois Oisom Yemei Mishteh V'Simcha. So Simcha, that's the opposite of Laharoig. They got an added spirit, a Ruach Chaim, happiness. Yemei Simcha. Mishteh, parallel, corresponding to what he wanted to destroy the guf. They got mitzvah Suda, that's Mishteh. It's a mitzvah to make a Sudas Yantav on Purim. That Suda is a Tosefes to the guf. So that's Yemei Mishteh. That's the opposite of La'abed. And so, well, let's see. What else did they want to do? Shlolam Lavois. They wanted to take away all their possessions. So what should we get for Nafalichul? We should get perhaps added possessions. We should become richer on Purim. No, that's not what we find. Shlolam Lavois. What Keneged is parallel to this they got? The mitzvah of Mishloach Monois and Matanis Lev Yoinim. They got mitzvahs to give. What's the pshat? How does it fit with Shlolam Lavois? Because the possessions of a person don't belong to him. They're anyway not his. Like the famous, the Yikchuli Tuma. What you give, that's yours. What you don't give is not yours. You don't take it with you. When you use your possession for a mitzvah, then it becomes yours eternally. So they got a Tosefet opinion, Tosefet acquisition. What's an added acquisition? The mitzvah, when you use your possession to make somebody else happy, Mishloach Manas and Matanos Aviyonim. So that was the Haitapchus, the transformation of Ushlamam Lavois, to take away from them their possessions. Now let's see as well. Let's go back again now to then we have as well. La Yehudim Hoisa Oiro the Simcha Sosan Diko. So let's again. Oiro, or maybe let's review for a second. Again, let's get this in. So we have 4 decrees of Haman. La Hashmid, La Roig, La Abed, and Shlolam Lavois. That's the whole perimeter of a human being. The Nefesh Ruach Neshama. La Hashmid, to destroy the Neshama. La Haroi, to take away the living spirit, the Ruach. La Abe, to destroy the Nefesh and the Guf. They cremate them. The Shlolam Lavois, to take away the possessions. These is every person can be defined in 4 perimeters. In these perimeters. That he is the essence of his Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and his possession. That's who the person is. And that has to be, and Haman wanted to erase all this from the world. So parallel to this, we got in every sphere of the person a mitzvah. Hashmid, we got Mikra Megillah. La'aroi, we got Yimei Mishteh V'Simcha. La'abed, to destroy the guf, we got a Sudas Purim. And Shlolam Lavois, we got 2 mitzvahs connected with possession, Mishloach Manas and Matanas Aviyonim. Now let's go further. By Yehudim Hoisa, Oira, V'Simcha, V'Sosai Biko. Oira, Chachamim say like this. Oira is Torah. Simcha means the Simcha of Yontif, Shabbos. On Yontif there's a mitzvah to maybe Sameach on Shabbos. Simcha is the Simcha of a day of Yontif. Sosai, the Gemara darshins that Sosai refers to Mila. Sosa, because it says Sosa Noichi, David HaMelech said Sosa Noichi Alim Rosecha K'moitzi Shalom. They got the mitzvah of Mila. What means that they got the qualities, the pnimius, the positive thing of Mila. The Yakar, the Gemara that interprets means Tefillin. Why is Tefillin called Yakar? Yakar, the literal translation of Yakar is dignity, because Tefillin is V'ro called Amei Ha'oretz. That all Amei Ha'oretz will see that the name of Hashem is an Am Yisrael. The Yoram Imcha, they'll fear you. They'll stand in front of you with awe. The Gemara says that's Tefillin Shorosh. You know, it says Shem Hashem Nikra. That's not interesting. On the Tefillin Shorosh, which letter do we have? Shin. How do you write Shin? Shin, some before, one before, right? But the Shin, Yud Nun, right? Shin, Yud Nun. It's the Rosh Tevis of these 3 words in the pasuk. Shem, Hashem, Nikra. Shem is Shin, Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei is Yud, Nikra Nun. So the Shin represents Shem, Hashem, Nikra. The name of Hashem is upon Klal Yisrael. Now let's analyze. Keneged parallel Hashmid. He wanted to destroy Am Yisrael, so we got a mitzvah, right? That's Mikra Megillah, that's Torah. Torah is the opposite of the Torah. It increases the neshama. When a person learns Torah, he strengthens his neshama. Oira zu Torah, that's the kedusha of the neshama. That's Keneged again. We have four things here: Oira, Simcha, Sasan, Yikor. So the Gzeira, the perimeters of a person, Keneged the Seichel and the Moyach of the person, we got mitzvahs, we got Torah. A different connection with Torah. Megillah is a whole Maseches Megillah. That's Oira zu Torah. Simcha is like we said. The Simcha is the increasing, that's the opposite of Lara, the opposite of the kill. Simcha is Kipshuta. Now here it doesn't say Mishta, it says Sasai. Sasai is the opposite of the destruction of the guf. How is it the opposite of destruction of the guf? What does Hashem say when Hashem says to David, to Avram Avinu, to make the bris milah? So it says in the pasuk, is halech lefonai v'hayei tamim. And the Targum explains tamim shlim, shleimus. The milah, the kedushas habris is the shleimut, the completion of the guf. So it's a tosefet guf. The pnimius of milah, when got the pinim, the inside mile of milah, it's shown on Klal Yisrael. We'll speak about it in a minute. That's sasei. And that's parallel, which is interesting. We have a parallel here with the Suda of Purim and Milah. It's very interesting. And because that's parallel, both of them, parallel to La'abed the Guf. And Yukar, in this way, Yukar is Tefillin. Tefillin, Yukar is the opposite of Shlolem Lavais. How does that fit? This is, I'm saying over from the Grom. How does the Yukar, how is Yikor the opposite of Shlolem Lavais, Tefillin? But in a certain sense, what I would say this I would say it in two ways. In two ways to explain this. There's a person, what the money of a person, the possession of a person, this is his, we say Chaim Shel Oisha V'Kovet. Oisha gives covet to a person. He has power. The Aisha. The tefillin is the kvaid. What tefillin, if it's Shem Hashem Nikra, that's the biggest Aisha. That's one way of explaining it. A second way of explaining it is that the tefillin represents the total accepting of the yoke of heaven upon a person. Total accepting of the yoke of heaven. It's a total being a servant of Hashem. We have a principle called that an Eved, a servant, a slave, doesn't have Egina, he doesn't have his own possessions. An Eved is Mashikana Eved Kana Rabbi. So Yikor is because the his abchis of the shlita of Amalek on everything means that the kedusha emanated on all one's possessions. Like you have the concept that says the Chamoyer of Pinchas ben Yoel wouldn't do an Isa. So the Yakar Tefillin, when a Tefillin which represents the total dedication to the Malchus, the kingdom of Hashem, that's Yakar. That means because there's nothing out of the standing for the honor of Hashem to serve Hashem. So it means that all these possessions are also, Yakar represents that the possessions to serve Hashem. There's nothing that goes out of the perimeter of the service of Hashem. It says in the Svarim that Purim and Yom Kippur have a relationship with each other. Yom Kippur. What is basically the relationship between these 2 days? What's the relationship? But Poshet. Chachamim tell us that Hada Kibluha B'mei Achashverosh. That when Am Yisrael, they said Nasa v'Nishma, but some learned that from the oral Torah was Kafa Aleim Hakigikas, that some ways they were forced to accept the Torah. And they were mashlim, they completed, after this miracle, they accepted the Torah with love. Now, what took place on Yom Kippur? What took place? Yom Kippur, when Am Yisrael said, first Am Yisrael accepted the Torah, they said Nasa v'nishma, and then they made the Chet HaEgel. And then they lost, the Moshe broke the Luchas. But Hashem forgave them for the Chet HaEgel, and they accepted the Torah, they accepted the second tablets on Yom Kippur. So like Yom Kippur, I guess that's a tshuva, it means to accept the Torah. Like Yom Kippur is a day of accepting the Torah, as Purim is really a day of Kabbalas HaTorah. One might say that the mitzvah of the Suda on Purim is not just the Suda of the miracle, to remember the miracle that we were saved, but it's a Suda of acceptance of the Torah. Because we accepted that Am Yisrael renewed their connection with Torah mi'avot, so they accepted the Torah with love. And how did they accept the Torah? The Maral explains, because when Hashem gave them the mitzvah Mikra Megillah, which is called an addition of the Torah, they could have said, Mordechai Esther, we have 613 mitzvahs. We don't manage to keep the 613. And now you want to give us a new mitzvah? You want to add more mitzvahs? But instead, they accepted this mitzvah with Ava. So the acceptance of this mitzvah with Ava, if you accept an addition, included in the acceptance of the addition means that in Kal V'Chomer, for sure you accept the Ikar. So this was called, the acceptance of the mitzvah Megillah was called accepting the Torah, or renewal of the acceptance of Torah. And it's interesting, it says it in the Megillah like this. We learn it from the Chacham, learn it from a pasuk. Kimu v'kiblu ha'Yehudim. Kimu v'kiblu, so they say like this. Kimu, they kept, and kiblu they accepted, but as I say, kimu masha kiblu kvar. You know, there's a concept. There's such a thing that's called kiyum shtaros. You know what kiyum shtaros is? This is like this kimu is a kiyum shtaros. Somebody has a shtar, he has a deed, but you don't know if it's false or not. So he goes to Beis Din, and Beis Din verifies that it's true. So then when it's mekayim the shtar, one gives it a true essence. One brings the shtar to life. So kimu, this is what it means here. Kimu, they brought the acceptance of Torah. Kimu as a Torah. They revived their acceptance of the Torah. That's kimu. Kimu masha kiblu kvar. They made a kimu on the Kabbalah of Torah. Accepted Torah. They threw a spirit of life in the Torah that they already accepted. They threw a spirit of life, and this is hinted to in the Megillah by Hudim Hoysa Oira. If you know, the Torah says v'yotza b'hoysa lish acher. So the Gemara says there's a connection between Gittin and Kedushin, the laws of the shtar of Gittin and Kedushin. The word hoysa, the Torah, kisiya leishtei nashim. We find the word tia, state of being, connected with kedushin, with marriage. So like hudim hoysa oira, you can read like this: to the Jews, hoysa, the oira of Torah became Am Yisrael married. The hoysa was lashon havaya. It became part of them, their essence. There was to Am Yisrael the Torah. It became part of their state of being. Like Hudim Hoysa Oira. The Oira of the Torah became part of the state of being. Because how do we know that? Where do we find marriage in connection with the Torah? There's a pasuk that everybody knows here, I'm sure. Torah tziva lanu moy rosha kilas yankiv. So there's a drash of Chazal. Don't read the word moy rosha, but read it moy rosa. Moy rosa erison. Erison is the first stage of marriage. They erison with the Torah. So here too, like Hudim Hoysa Oira, they makadish the Torah. They made kiddushin with the Torah. Now, Sim Oira v'Simcha, there are all these things which are mentioned, which is fascinating. These things which are mentioned in the Megillah. Oira, I was saying the connection, so we made like this. Like Yom Kippur is a day of Kabbalas HaTorah. This Purim is another day of Kabbalas HaTorah. And the Gra says something very fascinating. He said, Yom Tov, there's a din, this had chetzi l'Hashem, the chetzi l'chem. Half l'Hashem, the half l'chem. So, but we have two exceptions. What are the two exceptions? Yom Kippur, do we have l'chem on Yom Kippur? Shavuos, it has to have l'chem. You have to have even Rabbi Eliezer that holds that you don't have to make l'chem. Shavuos, you have to make l'chem because this to express the simcha of Torah. And Purim too, you have to express the Simcha of Torah. But Purim, you don't find the Shem, you don't find Hef Lashem. And Yom Kippur, you don't find the Chem. So the Gemara says, these 2 days, Purim and Yom Kippur, are twins. If you put the 2 days together, so you have Chetzi Lashem and Chetzi Lachem. The Lachem of Yom Kippur is Purim, and the Lashem of Purim is Yom Kippur. These 2 things go together. And it's Yom Kippurim, because it says that there's a connection. So we're saying a simple pshat in this connection is the days of accepting the Torah. Purim completes on Yom Kippur we accepted the Torah, and Purim completes that acceptance of Torah. There it's a Kabbalah Torah Miyira, and Yom Kippur is a Kabbalah Torah Mi'ava. So let's go to something else, something sweet. Haman, the Gemara says in the play, it says like this: Haman minat Torah minai. Where is Haman hinted in the Torah? You know, he's hinted very much in the very beginning of Torah. Hamin ha'etz, after Adam Harishon eats from the tree. Hamin ha'etz asher tzivisicha v'bilti echol mimeno achalta. Did you eat from the tree? Hamin is Haman. Did you eat from the tree? What did this tree bring? This tree brought Misa to the world. It brought the Yetzer Hara. So it means the shayrish of Amalek is the Yetzer Hara itself in person. This is the Yetzer Hara. This is Amalek. Amalek, Haman from Amalek is the Yetzer Das, bringing Misa La'ila. But now it's very interesting. Where is Mordechai hinted in the Torah? So it says that Mordechai is hinted in the Torah. When the Torah lists names of the Besamim, there's a name of a Besamim called Mordror. And Mordror, the Targum Onkelos says Moradachya. Moradachya, that's Mordechai. Now, Mordror is a psalm that you bring in the Keteiros. Now, we have in Rashi, in Chumash, at the time of Kairach, there was a Magefa, and Rashi brings down, when Moshe Rabbeinu went in heaven, the Malach HaMoves, that's Mamun on death, that's Taka Hamin Ha'etz, that's where he got his Shlita on the world, from the Hamin Ha'etz. The Malach HaMoves gave a gift to Moshe Rabbeinu. What was the gift that he gave to Moshe Rabbeinu? He told him a secret that the Torah has power to stop the Malach HaMoves. It stops the Magefa. So Haman, so we have here 2 opposites. Like Haman is the shirish, the source of death. Mordechai is the source of life. Mordechai Mordror, he's the source of life. He's Keteiros that stops the Magefa. But let's go further. You know, what was Keteiros mechaper on? Now we can see this parallel even further. Keteiros was mechaper on which chet? Do you know? The Keteiros, what? Lashon Hara. The Gemara says, and now we know we have a pasuk in Mishlei, Hamoves v'achayim biyad Lashon. And the Gemara says like this, where the Gemara speaks about Haman and Megillah, it says, Les the Yoda Lishna Bisha Haman. Who's a professor of Lashon Hara? There's no greater professor of Lashon Hara than Mr. Haman. Lest the Yoda Lishna Biyah. They don't have anybody, a mumch in Lashon Hara. When he goes to the king, for example, the Medrash brings down all this, how he spoke to Achashverosh. Like he says, you know, Adoni Amelech, my master the king, you know, if a fly falls into their cup of wine, they take the fly out and they drink the wine. But if you, your majesty the king, just touch the cup that they have wine in it, they pour the wine out and they wash the cup 3 times. You see how they treat you, the king? You're less than a fly by them. And such things he said to them to impress the Achashverosh. So Haman is the master of Lashon Hara. Hamin ha'etz. The Lashon Hara is a shirish. We see it is a shirish as a source of death and dust. And Mordechai is Keteiros. And where do we find the proof to this thing? The very last pasuk in the Megillah speaks about Mordechai. And what does the pasuk say about Mordechai? Doiresh toiv la'amoi, the doiver sholim l'chol zaroi. In the chatoim of the language, we have 2 types of chatoim of Lashon Hara. You know the two, what are they called specifically? We have Lashon Hara and there's another chat. What's it called? Motzi Shemra is even worse than Lashon Hara, but it's in the family of Lashon Hara. When it's false, when it's a lie, it's Motzi Shemra. When it's true, it's Lashon Hara. Like they say, if it's true Lashon Hara, you say something, you say Lashon Hara, but I'm totally saying the truth. You're right. It's truly Lashon Hara. You're right. It's when it's not true, it's Lashon Hara. It's Motzi Shemra. Then it's even worse, and it's a lie. that's Chayav Misa B'dei Shemayim, very severe. But there's another Aveira, which Lashon Hara means to speak evil about somebody, to put him down, to put his respect down, to malign him. Rechilas. By the way, something very interesting in the English language. When you want to, Lashon Hara is called to malign somebody. When you have when you have a cancer, how do you say about the cancer if it's cancerous? Malignant. Malign. It's the same word. The Lashon Hara is malignant. It's b'nega. It's the same word. I'll call upon him lichilas. What's the difference? Rechilas is to divide between people. Rechilas is you didn't say anything bad about them, but you destroy the if you see these people like each other, I'll make them enemies with each other. That's rechilas. It's anything that will destroy the love between human beings. Now, what does the Megillah say about Mordechai? Mordechai, what's the last pasuk in the Megillah? Doireish toiv la'amoy. That's the opposite of which chet. He speaks good about Am Yisrael. The opposite, is that an evil tongue or a good tongue? That's a Lashon Taiv. It's the opposite of Lashon Hara. What's the opposite of Rechilas? Instead of to divide between people, to bring peace amongst people, right? Umordchai doireish toiv la'amoy, dover shalom l'chol zaro. So this is the opposite of Lashon Hara and Rechilas. He's the Ketairis that brings life to this world. Mordechai is more dror. Now let's take it further. Let's go with Gematria. What is the Gematria of Amalek? Do you know?
240.
Very good. How do you write 240? Mem Reish. Mar. Mar. When Shmuel Hanavi goes to kill Agag, the Melech of Amalek, he says, Ochein Sar Mar Hamovas. Mar, the Movas is called Mar. Amalek is the source of Movas. What is Mordechai? But Mordechai, so Mar is Movas, and we said the Haman Matera Mina Etz, and it's the Gematria of Amalek. And Mordror. What is the meaning of Mordechai Minatera Minayin Mordror? What is the meaning of the word Dror? Dror means, it says by Yovel, Ukrosim Dror Ba'oretz, the Chol Yeshveh. Dror is freedom. So, Mordechai, Mordror, he's Dror, he's freedom from the Mar, freedom from Amalek, freedom from death. The name Mordechai has a remez to freedom from Amalek and death. More, the more is the Mavis. If you want the simon, we eat Moror on the night of Pesach to remember the suffering of Mitzrayim. Here we have it clearly, the Gematria of Moror. In Moror, you have Mem and a Vav. You have two Reish. If you put two Reishes together, which letter does it make? Which letter of the Aleph base is two Reish? The Gematria of two Reish is which letter? 200, 200, tough. So you have in Moror, leave the Mem Vav, put the two Reishes together, what word does it make you? Mavis. Mavis, death. So Mar, Beriris, is connected with Mavis. Mordechai, Mor, Dror, is Dror from Mavis. And why is he Dror from Mavis? Because he's like the Ktairis. So that all the things fit together. And why? And what's the freedom from death? To have a Lashon Taiv. To have a Lashon that brings achdus between people. That's the I'll call upon him. Purim is because it was a story of Mechias Amalek's everything. Tair is the Chabris, is a bris with Hashem. Then we have Simcha is Shabbos. On Shabbos we don't wear tefillin. Why? Because Shabbos itself is an ice. Oisi lo'olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. That's Simcha, Shabbos. Then Sosan is Mila. That's an ice in the guf. Then Yikor is tefillin. Kshartam lo'is ha'yadecha. So when Amalek was erased, comes back all the ices. But all of these ices are contained in Mimad HaTeirah. Simen Ladava. Notice the Gematria. This is from the Gra, not my Gematria. We have here mentioned here all the things that are mentioned here together. The first letter of the things mentioned here. Oira is Aleph. Simcha, Sosoin is twice Shin, so it's 601. Yikor, add another 10, 611. The Rashi Tevis, the first letter means that everything's included in the first letter. That's the beginning. So 611 is the numerical value of Torah. All this is included in Torah. Oira, Vayihuda Moisa, Oira, Simcha, Sasa, Yikor, all this together, because the first letter comes to Torah, because everything's included in Torah. Seder, Afreilich and Purim, spoke a little bit about.
היום פורים
לנו מחר יום חול, היום פורים לנו מחר יום חול. אל ציווה בפורים לוי